Today I'm going to be talking about why there are no Jackson State games on HBCU Go this season. This is interesting. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss channel on Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, earlier this week, or recently, I don't even know if it was this week, I talked about the HBCU Go deal and why I thought it was massive, why I thought it would change a lot for the SWAC, why I thought this was a big time deal, because you are going to, you being the consumer, you being the fans, you being the people at home, and myself included, are going to be able to enjoy and get straight to consumer content from the SWAC, from HBCU Go for free, right? That is huge, whether it's your favorite SWAC football team, which is important, SWAC basketball team, SWAC volleyball, SWAC just coverage. Over thousands of SWAC events will be placed on HBCU Go thanks to the deal struck by HBCU Go, Byron Allen, AMG, and the SWAC. Now, some of you had some pushback, right? Some of you were like, oh, this deal sucks. Oh, this deal's awful. Oh, this deal, oh my God, oh, this is blah, 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 blah. Who lied to you? Like, seriously, who lied to you and told you that this deal is bad? Like, where are you getting that from? Where is that energy coming from that this is a bad deal? This isn't a bad deal. I don't know who's out there saying that it is. It isn't a bad deal. And we're going to show you and give you examples of why this isn't a bad deal. But we're also going to talk about, because some of you in the comments, because I read all the comments and I respond to most of them, pretty much respond to all of them, said this deal sucks because, and you know it sucks because there's no Jackson State games on the HBCU Go schedule. And I was like, yeah, you have somewhat of a point. There aren't any Jackson State games on the official HBCU Go schedule. But originally there were Jackson State games, 2 of them to be exact, on the HBCU Go original schedule. So let's dive into that, because that is where we're going to start this broadcast today, talking about the original HBCU Go schedule that was originally put out there by a reporter in Atlanta, a man by the name of Samuel Crenshaw. Now, Mr. Crenshaw put out the original HBCU Go schedule, the schedule that we all thought was legit. I mean, at the time it was legit. At the time it was what was supposed to go down. And I'm going to show that to you right now. This was the original schedule from HBCU Go put out by Mr. Samuel Crenshaw. Here it is right here. You got your games, the official, and make sure you guys can see that. Yep, we're good to go. Let me make it a little bigger. Let me take this down because we want full context. So this was the original schedule. The original schedule had 11 games and 2 Jackson State games. 2 games right here. Jackson State versus Bethune and Jackson State homecoming versus Campbell. Jackson State on the road against Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State homecoming against Campbell. Those were the 2 original Jackson State games that was on the HBCU Go, as you see right there, the HBCU Go schedule. Now, when HBCU game day, that was the schedule that Mr. Samuel Crenshaw put out, the Atlanta reporter. He was like, yo, HBCU Go will be shown on Atlanta station CW, Atlanta News Now, including Jackson State versus Bethune-Cookman. He put out the entire schedule, and all those games will be on the Atlanta News Now. And we came to find out that they'll be on a bunch of CBS stations across the country. Now, when HBCU Game Day put out the official, the real official schedule for HBCU Go, there were no Jackson State games. Let's go to that. So this is what HBCU Game Day put out. They put out this, and as you see, because those Jackson State games were scheduled against Bethune-Cookman on the 15th at Bethune, and then Campbell at Jackson State homecoming on the 22nd. Well, we see if we look at this date, on the 15th, HBCU Go was going to FAMU versus Grambling at Grambling. And then on the 22nd, they're doing Bethune-Cookman at Valley on the 22nd. So the two slots where JSU games are supposed to be, it looks like they have been filled. And it got me wondering, what happened? Why aren't there two JSU games like there were originally? What happened to those Jackson State games? What happened to that? And then, so when you stop doing that, I remember it's like, I did a whole video about Jackson State and their 10 scheduled games on ESPN Family and Networks. And in one of my old videos, I said, it looks like Mr. Crenshaw, or they're either going to simulcast on the same, which I didn't think would happen because ESPN don't do simulcast. And I said it during my old video. And I was like, well, either you're going to be able to watch it on Go or you're going to be watching on ESPN. But somewhere there's some confusion. Somewhere there's something wrong. Somewhere there's something shaky. And this was what Jackson State put out. This was their original article. It says 10 football games to be televised on ESPN Family and Networks after they originally thought it was only 8 games. But here are the 10 games. And won't you know it, the Bethune game is there and the Campbell game is there. But they're not on ESPN3, which you can access with your cable information. They're not on ESPN2, which is basic cable. They're not on ESPNU, which you can have a cable package to have it. They're on ESPN Plus, which you have to get separate, which you have to pay for even if you have cable. So why am I saying all this to you? Because I have to set the table, right? These games, the Bethune game and the Campbell game, were originally on HBCU Go. They were originally on HBCU Go. But who is the school? Which SWAC school gets featured on ESPN the most? Just in general, not even during the season, during the off season. Who gets mentioned and featured on ESPN the most from the SWAC? None other than Coach Prime and the JSU Tigers. So what it looks like, this isn't me having inside information. This isn't me knowing something I'm not supposed to know. What it looks like is that ESPN wanted to add some more Jackson State games because of the Deion Sanders value, because of the Shedeur Sanders value, because of the Travis Hunter value, because of the, JSU value. And it looks like they deboed HBCU Go to have those JSU games. Now maybe you're asking, Jeff, why is it that ESPN can take games, potentially take games from HBCU Go if they both have cable deals? Well, because ESPN has the primary cable deal, the primary rights deal, media rights deal, that is, not cable deal, media rights deal. They're primary, meaning they get first dibs on games. They get the games that they want, and HBCU Go gets this. They have secondary rights to the games. So the games that ESPN can't broadcast, don't want to broadcast, don't want no parts of, they pass them off to the secondary rights holder, which is HBCU Go. And so it looks as if ESPN didn't want the Bethune game. ESPN didn't want the Campbell game. And something happened. Well, we know one thing happened with Bethune. It got moved to an NFL stadium. That might perk some ESPN ears because we know ESPN has a relationship with NFL. We know ESPN, they feel real comfortable at the Jaguar Stadium as opposed to at Bethune Stadium. Wouldn't you think so? Don't you think ESPN as a company The way they do business and the way they look at things, don't you think they'd feel a lot more comfortable at the Jaguar Stadium in Jacksonville than going down to Daytona Beach and going to Bethune-Cookman? I ain't saying it's right, but I'm saying that might have been a factor into why they wanted to add the game. And then homecoming at Jackson State. ESPN clearly had no interest in homecoming at Jackson State until it looked like HBCU Go was going to be at homecoming at Jackson State. And then it looks like ESPN changed their mind and kind of came through and said, I will take that one too. Because the more Deion, the better. The more Jackson State, the better. The more Shador, the more Travis, the more of those guys, the better. And think about it. Look at where the games are being broadcasted. The games are being broadcasted on ESPN Plus. Nobody has ESPN Plus. Nobody watches ESPN Plus. So what's a way to garner more subscriptions to a subscription-based platform that isn't doing very well, which is ESPN Plus? You put Jackson State on there because a lot of people want to tune into Jackson State this year. So the best way to garner more subscribers to ESPN Plus is to put Coach Prime, to put Travis Hunter, to put the JSU Tigers on ESPN Plus, something you have to pay for separate than your cable pay. You can't log in with your cable information and get ESPN Plus. You have to pay a separate bill, a separate $4.99, $5.99, $6.99, whatever it is. I don't even know because I don't have it. You get what I'm saying? So that is why Jackson State isn't on HBCU Go this season, because it looks as if ESPN wants to continue to boost their subscriber numbers on ESPN Plus. And so they put, 8 Jackson State games? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 Jackson State games on ESPN Plus. 2 more on ESPN 3 and 1 on ESPN 2. ESPN 3 meaning you can log in with your cable information and watch those games. ESPN Plus, something totally different. You have to actually pay for the subscription. It's a subscription-based streaming platform. It's the same thing as HBCU Go, just you got to pay for it. HBCU Go is a streaming platform that's free. And so that's why, what it looks like, why Jackson State isn't on the official HBCU Go schedule this year. Let me show you the HBCU Go schedule one more time. This is according to the article from HBCU Game Day. You got FAMU versus Albany State on September 10th, Southern versus Texas Southern on the 17th, Pine Bluff versus Alcorn on the 24th. Then in October, you got Grambling versus Prairie View on the 1st, Grambling at Alabama A&M on the 8th, FAMU versus Grambling on the 15th, Bethune-Cookman at Valley on the 22nd, Pine Bluff versus FAMU on the 29th, Alabama State at Bethune on the 5th of November, then Bethune at Alcorn on the 12th, and then to wrap up the HBCU Go season, Texas Southern at Alabama A&M on November 19th. So that is why. One thing I found interesting about this, a lot of Grambling games. And we know that Grambling has their deal with the HBCU League Pass. So that's interesting because I think the HBCU League Pass and the SWAC lawsuit is still a thing. But it looks like HBCU Go and the SWAC are moving forward, putting a ton of Grambling content on HBCU Go. Not mad at it at all. Y'all know the G-Men are one of my favorite teams. So I'm glad I'm going to be able to have easy access to watch them a ton this year. So that's why JSU isn't on HBCU Go this season. It looks like we just broke it all the way down. Now, I want to get into the whole concept of the HBCU Go deal because I saw a lot of comments saying, oh, this deal is trash. $1 million a year per school is garbage. And then the SWAC gets 40% of it. So it's only $600,000 a year. So that's even more garbage. $1 million a year for 12 schools is super garbage. We're seeing the Big Ten get $7 billion, and the SEC will get $7 or $7.5 billion. And then this conference gets this conference, and this conference gets this money, and that, and that, and this, and this, and that, and that, and that. Let's take a deep breath, everybody. Let's take a deep breath and actually do a deep dive into what is taking place. So, let's put out there for one. We don't know the official number between Byron Allen, AMG, HBCU Go with the SWAC. We don't know it. We don't. HBCU Go hasn't said anything. Commissioner McClellan hasn't said anything. We don't know the official number. Now, you can be upset that you don't know the official number. I'm not mad at you for being mad. You should want to know what the official number is, because we get the official number over here. We get the official number over here. The fact that we don't have the official number, I'm not mad at you for being mad about that. I feel like they should tell you what the official number is, what the official years are, and what the official dollar figure is. If it's 100 million, 120 million, 150 million, 200 million, I think they should tell you. I'm not disagreeing there. So I want to preference all of my comments by saying that. But I do want to say we don't know what it is. Now, some good reporters, Cal T. Mosley, Roland Martin, Offscript, whoever, they've all come to the consensus from their sources that the deal is 10 years, $120 million. That is what they're reporting. Their sources there have told them. So let's work with that. Let's work with the 10 years, $120 million. That is, if you break it down between the 12 schools, it is $1 million per year for 10 years for all 12 schools. That is what the number comes down to. So let's use that. Using the 10-year, $120 million reported, sources reported figures. Let's use those numbers, the years and the number, the $1 million a year. Let's use that. And then some of you will point out that in the SWAC bylaws or somewhere that 40% of that goes to the SWAC. Okay, so if we're using the $1 million, 40% of that goes to the SWAC is what a lot of you all in my comments are telling me. So you're saying that it's actually only $600,000 per year because $400,000 of that goes to the SWAC. Okay, so say that is what you're telling me. We're using it. So I'm using your example. Okay, so $600,000 a year. $600,000 a year for a media deal, a secondary media deal from HBCU Go. So let's use that. So what I'm going to present to you is an article written by On3 Sports, respected recruiting site, respected college football site, right? Let's go ahead and go over to On3. And it says, here's a look at all. Now they're saying FBS. This is FBS only. Here's a look at all the current conference TV deals. This is FBS, meaning the schools with 85 scholarships, not 63. The schools that are a notch above Jackson State in the FCS conference, not below, right? Not D2. This is FBS. This is what a lot of people want, Jackson State and the SWAC to be in the FBS. So these are the contract for the FBS conferences, right? We got the AAC. They're making a bunch of money. Each school receives about $7 million. Okay, it's a whole lot of money. ACC, each school gets about $17 million. It's a lot of money. Not mad at that at all. Big 10 just got their new thing. They're Big 12. Let's get into Big 10, Big 12, AAC. Those are bigger conferences. Those are not AAC, but the ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. They're three of what we call the Power 5. So let's stay out of the Power 5. Let's look at some of the Group of 5. AAC does pretty well. They get about $7 million. That's 7 times the amount of the SWAC. It's a lot. But once again, they're FBS. You got to remember that. And let's look at some other FBS non-Power 5. How much they get from their primary media contracts. Let's talk about it. Let's start with Conference USA. It says in 2018, the league announced a 5-year deal with CBS Sports Network to serve as the primary rights holder. Stadium, Facebook also carry some of the leagues and basketball games. Schools receive between $400,000 and $500,000 annually. $400,000 and $500,000 annually. Now remember, The HBCU Go deal pays SWAC schools what you guys are telling me, because I see $1 million a year, but you're telling me the SWAC takes 40%, so only $600,000 a year. This is an FCS program, and this is their secondary media rights holder, not the primary. The secondary pays, what you're telling me, $600,000 a year. What you're telling me is a bad deal. Where Conference USA's primary media rights carrier pays them between $400,000 and $500,000 per school each year in an FBS program with 85 scholarships. The CUSA only pays $400,000 to $500,000 from the primary. But you're telling me the HBCU Go deal is bad. Let's keep going. So that's one of the group of five, which would be what the SWAC would be if they moved up to FBS. They would be more of a group of five program, not a Power Five program. Let's go to the Mid-America. In 2019, the league and CBS Sports announced a 4-year extension to televise football and basketball games through the 2022-23 season. A 4-year deal extension from the original agreement signed in 15 and 16 is through a sublicense agreement with ESPN. The deal is worth about $8 million a year, which means each of the 12 schools receive about $600,000 annually. $600,000 annually. You guys told me the HBCU Go deal is a bad deal. You're telling me in my comments, but I'm looking at FBS programs make $400,000 to $500,000, $600,000. Group of five programs, $600,000 annually. The HBCU Go deal pays $1 million annually. If the SWAC takes 40%, it's $600,000. It's right in line with what Mid-America Conference does with the primary media rights holder. The primary deal. The HBCU Go deal is a secondary deal. Does that make sense? So that means from the primary provider, this Mid-America Conference gets $600,000. From the primary provider, Conference USA gets between $400,000 and $500,000, which is lower than $600,000. From their primary rights holder. HBCU Go is the secondary for the SWAC. ESPN is the primary. And HBCU Go pays more than this. HBCU Go pays more than this. They pay more than this. Now, with the SWAC, with their agreement with the SWAC, the schools and the SWAC, their agreement has nothing to do with HBCU Go. They pay $1 million a year. They pay the schools $1 million a year. Now, if the school has to pay 40% of that to the SWAC, that's between the schools and the SWAC. But HBCU Go pays $1 million a year, which is double this, what the Conference USA gets, and damn near double this. I mean, is it not? But you guys are telling me it's a bad deal. How? Let's keep moving on. The Mountain West. Let's zoom in on the Mountain West. It says the league has a 6-year deal through 25 through 26 with CBS and Fox that will pay the league $270 million, $4 million a year. The Sun Belt. The league announced in July that it had extended its agreement with ESPN through the 2030 through 31. So if this year is 22 through 23, 30 through 31 is an 8-year deal. Each school is believed to make about $500,000 annually. Once again, that's HBCU Go pays $1 million annually. That's allegedly, reportedly. Now, reportedly, that's double that what the Sun Belt gets. Once again, this is an FBS program, not an FCS, FBS. $500,000 annually from their primary media rights dealer, ESPN's paying them $500,000 annually. Their primary rights. They just signed the extension, so it ain't an old deal. It's for 8 years. It's $500,000. Now, the only real backlash that anybody could really have about the deal between HBCU Go and the SWAC is that maybe you don't like that it's 10 years. 10 years seems a little bit long. But what did I say in my last video? I said 10 years is a long time, but 10 years gives you plenty of data if any type of major movement takes place in the SWAC between now and 10 years from now. Meaning, let me put it in layman's terms. If Deion Sanders leaves Jackson State, so if Deion is there for the next 5 years at JSU, obviously everybody's going to be happy because folks are going to be sitting pretty. But if in the last 5 years, we're just doing hypotheticals now. I'm not wishing anything upon anybody, especially not Prime leaving JSU. You know, guys know I wouldn't do that. But if Prime decides to move on, which he's talked about openly with Willie Simmons when they did the spaces for the Orange Blossom Classic. If Prime decides to move on 5 years from now, you have 5 years of Prime, during Prime, the Prime era, whatever, and 5 years of him being gone, which is a good sample size when you're ready to renegotiate. Because if he leaves, if he's there for 5 years, and then in that 6th year, the ratings fall off a cliff and never recover, then you get that. But if he leaves after 5 years, hypothetically, and in year 6, the ratings stay relatively the same, and they stay the same for the next 5 years, then you come to the table and you tell them to back up the Brinks truck. That's what you do. That's called good business practices. And not just Prime. This means the same for if Willie Simmons leaves FAMU. If Hugh Jackson leaves Grambling. If Coach Dooley leaves Southern. If Bubba McDowell. You get what I'm saying? And not just for them leaving, if their programs elevate. We got 5 years of Mississippi Valley not being no good or whatever. But then the next 5 years, they're at the top of the SWAC. They're one of the best teams. Grambling starts winning Celebration Bowls. JSU gets upset a couple of times. You get what I'm saying? Like, you get full context of the conference over the course of the next 10 years with all kinds of major movements. Say if, I don't know, I'm not going to fire anybody, but say if another big-time head coach gets hired at one of these programs. There will never be another Deion Sanders, but if another big-time head coach with coaching experience, NFL experience, Hall of Fame credentials, or whatever comes into the SWAC, you take all of that into consideration over the next 10 years, and you're still making more money than the Sun Belt. Double the amount that the Sun Belt is making. You're still making double the amount, the $500,000 that an FBS program, you're getting double the amount from your secondary deal from HBCU Go. So who told you it was a bad deal? I mean, who? I'm serious. $600,000 from Mid-America. You're still getting damn near double that. $400,000 to $500,000 from Conference USA. You're getting double that from HBCU Go. Now, whatever deal that the schools have worked out with the conference, taking 40% or whatever, that's up to them. That's on them, rather. That ain't on HBCU Go. You're making more. Your schools. So folks will be like, oh, $1 million ain't nothing. $1 million is chump change, blase, blase, blah. Your schools are making more on their secondary media contract than FBS programs are making from their primary contract. But it's a bad deal. Your schools, I repeat, your schools, your SWAC schools, your FAMUs, your Prairie Views, your Pine Bluffs, Valleys, Jackson State, Grambling, Alcorn, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, your schools are making double what Power 5 schools are making from their secondary media rights holder. But it's a bad deal. But it's a bad deal. Guys gotta make it make sense. Guys gotta make it make sense, man. I mean, unless there's something that I'm missing. Unless there is something that I am missing, you can please. I am all ears. I'm willing to listen. But just if I'm looking at those FBS programs, I didn't even look at the FCS. So think about this, guys. Think about this, man. I gotta adjust myself for this. If the streaming companies, TV networks, or whoever are only paying between $400,000 and $600,000 to 3 of the 5 group of 5 conferences. The Mountain West and the AAC only being the only 2 who actually make over $1 million. 3 of the 5 group of 5 conferences in the FBS all make under $1 million a year from their media rights deal, primary media rights deal, that is. What do you think the FCS conferences are getting? They're probably not getting $1 million either for their primary media rights deals. If the FBS conferences aren't even getting $1 million, hell, they're getting half of $1 million. The highest we saw was $600,000. The SWAC schools are getting $1 million, which is double that, nearly, just a little under double. But most of them are getting between $400,000 and $500,000. That's double that. That means they're making more than any other FCS conference from their secondary deal. I keep repeating the same thing, so it means it's time for me to get off, man. I just wanted to make that. I just had to put that out there. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Leave your thoughts, please. Let's have this dialogue. Let's have it. Let's talk about it. But the season's coming up this week. We got football this week. Bama State, Howard, MEAC SWAC Classic. Who you got? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Who you got? I put a poll up as well on my YouTube. JeffLightsyJr on YouTube. A poll up. You can subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 3K, road to 3K, 3,000 subscribers. And then after that, we're on the road to 4K. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button, though. But don't forget, who told you here first? Who said it was a bad deal? My name is JeffLightsYJr with the Black Boss channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Peace.